sorry. Hello, everybody. This is Jazz Miles. Next to me is my man Rick Donovan, and it's time to Wake Up America.
Case for secrecy in government when it comes to the conduct of national security affairs, and possibly for deception where that's appropriate. You know, Winston Churchill said during World War II that in wartime, truth is so important it should be surrounded by a bodyguard of lies.
Do you really believe that?
Absolutely.
You would lie in order to preserve the truth?
If I had to say something I knew was false to protect American national security, I would do it. I don't think we're often faced with that difficulty. But would I lie about where the D-Day invasion was going to take place to deceive the Germans? You better believe it.
Why do people in the government think that the rules of society or the laws don't apply to them?
Because they are not dealing in the civil society we live in under the Constitution. They are dealing in an anarchic environment internationally where different rules apply.
But you took an oath to uphold the Constitution, and the Constitution mandates certain openness and certain fairness. You're willing to do away with that in order to achieve a temporary military goal?
And I think, as Justice Jackson said in a famous decision, the Constitution's not a suicide pact.
But you took an oath to it.
That's exactly right. And I think defending the United States from foreign threats does require actions that in a normal business environment in the United States we would find unprofessional.
Yeah.
I don't make any apology.
That's right, baby. How's everything going with you, Rick?
Good, Jazz.
So another week, and as we were filming our last show, it was on the big screen over here to our side about the Kobe Bryant situation. Mm-hmm. A lot of information has come out about it recently that, well, he was on a 76B helicopter, so he wasn't on his actual Black Mamba copter. He was on a 76B, which is required to have a black box, but this one didn't. Mm. And in some capacity, it didn't have the pilot warning system or something that's supposed to be on there also.
Right.
To alert them to like the weather situation or when he's too low to the ground.
You know, usually every helicopter has that, you know. But.
So you take in consideration those two items and the fact that LeBron James talked about him Saturday night as if it was already happened that Kobe had passed away.
In Philadelphia, where he's from, where one of the first time I ever met him, gave me his shoes, he won All-Star Week. It's surreal. It doesn't make no sense, but the universe just puts things in your life, and when you live in the right way, or you just giving everything to whatever you're doing, things happen organically, and it's not supposed to make sense, but it just happens. And I'm happy just to be in any conversation with Kobe Bean Bryant, one of the all-time greatest basketball players to ever play, one of the all-time greatest Lakers. The man got 2 jerseys hanging up in Staples Center. It's just crazy.
Yeah, like using the word "was," you know, towards the end.
And almost breaking down in tears while talking about passing him third all-time on the scoring list. So as you can imagine, it has a lot of people wondering, like, what's actually going on? You know what I mean, Rick? Mm-hmm. And as you say every week, so my main mantra is against Russian collusion. I always talk about how Obama colluded with Russia first and how this is about election integrity. Mm-hmm. Your main mantra is usually Epstein.
Epstein was hiding in plain sight. We all knew about him. We all knew what he was doing.
Yes, and I got a little bit of tidbit on that also. Just so
wait,
happens.
wait, hold on. We're talking about the Kobe Bryant case.
Yeah.
Not Epstein.
No, this is related.
Oh, do tell.
Well, it just so happens that there's a friend of Kobe Bryant. His name is Jeff Stribel. Yes, Jeff Stribel. And Jeff Stribel has an organization called the Lifeboat Foundation. It's like a kids organization.
Oh, let me guess.
And,
Go ahead.
well, you know what? It's funny. Like, I ain't saying nothing about Kobe and, you know, with Epstein, but it just so happens that this friend of Kobe, Jeff Stribel, with his foundation called the Lifeboat Foundation for Kids, guess who sits on his board of directors? Jeffrey Epstein, or did.
Used to, or formerly.
Yes. And
so you say, I say Epstein is dead. You say...
I don't think Epstein's dead at all. I think he's on some island somewhere, man.
Okay.
You know?
So this guy was, Epstein was on the board.
Living life up, you know?
And it's possible that there was a connection between him being on the board, the organization, and the demise of Kobe Bryant, is what you're saying? Along with no black box.
I'm speculating, yes.
Right, with no black box.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely.
You know, it just seems that everybody that's who met this guy Epstein,
or the Clintons, because as I said to you, LeBron supposedly was on the phone with Bill Clinton or had a conversation with Bill Clinton on the 23rd.
Yeah, and that's, you know, it's just so just so happens, I mean,
Have Clintons will die.
the Clinton cartel.
Have Clintons will die.
Yep.
I gotta tell you. But Bill, thanks for doing the promo for our show when you did it way back in 2000. Hi, this is Bill Clinton. You're watching Sports Blast. Thank you.
Yep.
But other than that, have Clintons will die.
Yep.
And another thing we didn't even talk about off camera, but we were talking about, it came to me, there was a CIA airplane that went down in Afghanistan this week.
Intelligence aircraft in snow-covered mountains in disputed Taliban territory. No doubt a nightmare scenario for U.S. forces in Afghanistan. Exclusive footage acquired by Al Jazeera shows the crashed U.S. plane in Ghazni province. A day earlier, this place was filled with people. Now the site is clear. A witness on the ground told Al Jazeera U.S. jets and drones could be seen circling the area, even firing warning flares to keep people away from the wreckage.
It was around 1:30 p.m. yesterday that the plane was coming from Ghazni city towards this place. Then it began flying a little lower and it crash landed. So I don't know why or what exactly happened to the plane.
Afghan and American security sources in Kabul have confirmed the aircraft that went down on Monday afternoon was an E-11A, a modified bombardier passenger plane. It's used by the U.S. military exclusively in Afghanistan as a communications support aircraft. An American spokesman in Kabul said an investigation is underway, but since the crash separating fact from fiction has been difficult. Officials from Afghanistan's national carrier Ariana Airlines denied earlier reports the crashed plane was one of theirs.
It's hard to know who the victims were. First, we thought it was an Ariana Airlines plane. Later on, I found out it was a foreign plane, but I don't know anything about the casualties.
Americans dominate the sky over Afghanistan, so when there are U.S. planes around, Taliban fighters, even civilians, tend to flee the area for fear of missile attacks. In the immediate aftermath of the crash, the scene was very different. People roamed the site freely, and video posted to social media showed the wreckage of a plane still on fire. U.S. markings near the tail section left little doubt about who was operating the doomed flight. Witnesses at the scene can be heard talking about the black box and even keeping some of the debris as a souvenir.
With up to 80-something people on board,
Right.
and we haven't gotten the passenger list yet. So also, because I was talking about the state funeral scenario,
Yes.
it might not necessarily just be about Kobe, depending on who was on that CIA airplane that was shot down by the Taliban in Afghanistan earlier this week.
Yep.
We could get some other names to come out.
Yeah.
Who knows who was traveling?
Seriously, all this stuff is really seems to be all tied together.
Oh, well, sure.
You know?
I mean, it's a dangerous world.
You know,
And whether it's a cartel or a mafia or the Pelosi family with Brown and, like you said, Gavin Newsom and the Petty family out of California.
Yeah, the Gettys, the Newsoms, the Browns, the Reeds.
Right, so, well, yeah, the Browns, the Newsoms, the Pettys, yeah,
They're all connected.
and the Pelosi's.
Pelosi's.
Because with Pelosi's father, having worked with Lucky Luciano back in the day to run heroin or whatever.
And drugs, arms.
Right, in Massachusetts or something like that. And now her son is on the energy board, and her son actually did a commercial using Nancy in it to help garner support for whatever he was trying to get done with this energy corporation he's working with.
Yep. People don't think, like, can this really be happening? But it is. I mean, for 80 years, that those four families have controlled California. The only two guys that were lucky enough to be governor is Reagan and Schwarzenegger.
Right, right.
You know?
And even then, when you look through some of the bloodlines, maybe somebody was married to or knew somebody else. But Rick, I just got to address one of our emailers. So we always get one of those hyper-intelligent people who try to say that when Barack Obama was speaking in Russia to Medvedev, that wasn't Russian collusion. So they asked me to explain it to them. And I'm going to explain it to you in a way a child would understand.
And you know what? It was collusion. So
Well, right, but here's how I'm going to explain how. So when that happened, Barack was just about to run against Mitt Romney for a re-election. Okay, so when Barack said, hold off till after the election,
where I can help you.
right, so let me put it like this. What if Russia was going to invade Crimea during the election and Mitt Romney came out sounding and looking strong and Barack looked weak? Mitt would win.
Correct.
Okay, so Barack didn't want us to look weak, while at the same time he didn't want to get involved in a physical altercation if Russia invaded Crimea ahead of time. So what he said was, don't invade Crimea until after the re-election, and in that way, when I don't interfere, I won't look like a pussy in front of America, and you could take over Crimea.
And exactly what happened.
Because if you do it now, I might have to do something just to look good before the election, because Mitt might come out and say, look at what Obama's letting Russia do, because he's friends with him. Because, we are friends, Vladimir.
Yep.
Even though I'm not talking to you,
Yeah.
I can't even talk to you. I have to talk to Medvedev and have
Yeah.
Medvedev tell
refer to you.
that's how much of a leader I was.
Well,
So just to break it down,
no
Russia
fanheads.
Russia would have preferred Obama to be president
Mm-hmm.
because they already knew he wasn't going to do anything because he said, I'll be more flexible after
After
my
the
reelection. After the American people can't do or say anything because it's my second term. After Congress can't do or say anything because I'm in my second term.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he did with Russia.
Yep. And we watched that, just them walk right in there and take it all over.
Hey, Mike Bloomberg has $1 billion pledge. He pledges to spend at least $1 billion on his own campaign or towards the campaign of whoever gets the nominee for the Democratic Party.
Yeah. Waste your money. Then what can that $1 billion do? I mean, for the homeless. Listen, there's 4 million, I believe, 4 million African American children in America that are living below poverty. 3.8 million Hispanic children. You know what? Hey, why don't you use that money for that? Why don't you help them out? Why don't you go in the inner cities and, build up these food kitchens or these places where people can sleep on cold
Something
nights.
for the veterans, anything for the
Yeah.
young kids,
Yeah.
improve some parks.
But no, it's all about greed with you, Bloomberg.
And it's all about taking our duly elected president, Donald Trump, out of power.
You think you're going to say 65 million votes and just dump them in the shitter? I said, because you think all your money, you want to back this impeachment? Well, guess what? It's not going to happen. He's going to be president again. We're going to load up the judicial branch with more conservative judges, the Supreme Court. I said, he's going to set this America back on its feet for the next 50 years. And that's what you people are afraid of. You Pelosi's, you Nadlers, you pedophiles out there like the Epstein buddies. I said, this world human trafficking and pedophilia. That's my mantra, man. I says, if I was to run for Congress, I says, that shit's got to stop. Who's all connected here?
Rick,
I'll never go on a helicopter.
Oh, I'll never go into hell. I'm sorry. But if you run for Congress, are you running as a politician?
No, I'm not. I'm running as a patriot.
Say that again for the people.
A patriot.
Not a politician.
Somebody that upholds the Constitution. Somebody that cares about our citizens. Born and bred here, man. Red-blooded Americans of all colors and all creeds. All those people that support the flag, our Constitution, Christianity and Judaism. I says, that's what I'm about, I says, nobody's going to kick our country around because I'll be a right-hand man for President Trump there in Congress.
And speaking of which, he just signed a USMCA this week.
Mm-hmm.
After NAFTA's adoption more than 25 years ago, the United States lost nearly 1/4 of all of its manufacturing jobs, including more than 1 in 5 vehicle manufacturing jobs. Think of that. 1 in 5 jobs lost so needlessly. Thousands of factories were shuttered. Millions of manufacturing jobs were destroyed. And entire communities were devastated from Ohio to Pennsylvania, Michigan to Maine, and California to North Carolina, devastated. 2 decades of politicians ran for office vowing to replace the NAFTA, and this was a catastrophe, the NAFTA catastrophe. Yet once elected, they never even tried. They never even gave it a shot. They sold out. But I'm not like those other politicians, I guess in many ways. I keep my promises, and I'm fighting for the American worker. And we're all fighting for the American worker. Everybody here is fighting for the American worker. This agreement is a tremendous breakthrough for American agriculture. Canada will finally provide greater access for American dairy. Canada's opening up. It will grow annual exports to our neighbors by an estimated $315 million. Poultry exports to Canada are expected to rise by at least 50%, and egg export could increase by 500%. Where is the Canadian folks? Where are they? You guys did a good job on us before this deal, I'll tell you. Canada was very tough, but they're good. They're our friends, so we appreciate it. Very importantly, Canada will finally give fair treatment to American-grown wheat. The USMCA is also a massive win for American manufacturers and auto workers. Under NAFTA, companies were given huge incentives to produce cars in foreign countries and ship them to America tax-free. No tax, no nothing. We lost our jobs, we closed our factories, and other countries built our cars. But we've changed that, and we're now setting records. The USMCA closes these terrible loopholes and includes strong provisions to ensure that new cars are fashioned by American hands. That's a fancy word of saying built, and manufactured with American labor.
So what's up with that, brother?
Well, that's another great trade agreement, not like NAFTA. I remember when I was working for a company back in the late 80s, I says NAFTA was in its process of being open, and all of a sudden they opened up a place in the Philippines, and guess what? I was laid off from a prestigious place here in Western New York as a CNC machinist, you know, and that hurt a lot of people. But I'll tell you what, this trade agreement, man, it's going to open up the dairy farmers, man. We're screaming, please, Trump, please, Mr. Trump, get this signed, you know. But, you know, the Democrats were dragging their heels, but it finally got done. So the dairy farmers, pork farmers, wheat, corn, you know, everything, you know, you're gonna be making buku dollars with this trade between Canada, us, and Mexico.
Right.
You know,
so you put that with the deal that he phase one that he signed with China a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. He is fulfilling all the promises basically he has set out for. He just announced a new Israeli-Palestinian deal that we'll cover in our next show, because we still have to talk about the what do they call this? The coronavirus.
oh yeah.
People did you come into contact with yesterday? Hard to remember, right? If you're carrying coronavirus, that could spell trouble. Coronavirus is a respiratory virus first identified in Wuhan, China, that is making headlines across the world because of its rapid spread. Symptoms include fever, cough, and difficulty breathing. It's not the first coronavirus to affect people. MERS and SARS are other well-known coronaviruses. The way this coronavirus spreads is still being investigated. It's thought to have come from animals at a market, but now seems to be spreading from person to person. The virus has made its way outside Wuhan to other parts of China and to Japan, Thailand, Australia, the US, and Canada. Contact tracing, a method where governments and health experts trace who an infected person has been in close contact with, is used to halt the spread of infectious diseases. People near an infected person are monitored, tested, and if they show signs of infection, quarantined. This method is difficult to execute given how mobile people are. There is no vaccine to prevent this coronavirus, and human vaccine trials probably won't even begin for 3 months. Public health officials are trying to determine exactly how coronavirus spreads, but it's probably through coughing, sneezing, or touching an infected person. Officials recommend common flu prevention strategies, like washing hands, covering your mouth when coughing or sneezing, and staying home from work or school if you feel sick. Experts have mixed views on whether masks are effective. Tracking the virus will probably remain a challenge, and the outbreak could spread further across the globe.
Well, listen, I talked to and this guy, he's a college teacher at the place where I work, and he also, you know, FBI, a very intelligent older fellow, you know, and he said him and his buddy were doing some research, and he says the Spanish flu in 1917 and this coronavirus today are almost in unison as far as the typical 2-week
incubation period.
Right.
Like chicken pox and all. You could have it for 2 weeks and not really know or break out from it.
Right, and how it's moving right now, you know, and they're, believe me, they're stopping everybody coming in from China.
Yeah, we just saw that. We're gonna have some footage of that on the show right here.
They're really scared. They're really scared because who knows how many people they didn't get.
Well, so here's what I want to say to that too, though. So once again, we're under a great situation where Donald J. Trump is our duly elected president. He's in office, but we also have to look at this as what would be going on if Hillary was. So there's always that parallel, like you were saying before when you were talking about the Mandela effect.
Yes.
Well, here's part of that parallel.
Check that out.
Well, check this out though. It's all a distraction, and here's what I mean. So countries were already set up with different viruses that supposedly we didn't have the cures for years. Like I told you, the Clintons basically set up North Korea and China to be their enemy. So when they had somebody they want to go after, say it was the bad guy, and that's what like Iran is supposed to be the enemy. So like Barack would have went over there and ran the caliphate. Hillary would have been here.
Yep.
Well, these other countries still had viruses and other things that they were supposed to unleash. So when you're president, you're going to go through some certain things. You have a country set up to release these viruses to make you look like you're on top of everything. So now if it's the deep state that has this all set up, they're still trying to do what they can in the background to distract now. The same plans that they were going to use as an attack is now a distract.
Yep.
It's all they got left. So they're throwing out
That's,
these little
that's their game.
right, and it's just a distraction from the point of the Republicans are whooping the Democrats' ass in the impeachment.
Mm-hmm.
Even Dianne Feinstein says she might vote against impeachment.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
Oh, and one other topic though, they might have witnesses, and you said you're against witnesses. I'm for witnesses.
Well, I don't know. You know, these people, all the lies, man. What are you going to bring in? More people that are going to do more lies, like the warmonger?
You mean John Bolton?
John Bolton, the warmonger.
Mustache.
Yeah. You know what? And President Trump is right. We would be in World War VI by now if this guy was still in there. You know, I'm glad he fired him. You know, because Trump ain't about making war and pounding a war drum. No, he's not. I mean, the liberal media man just keeps trying to shove that narrative down everybody's throat. You know what? I'm really upset about when I go to a small mom and pop place, you know, like a hairstyler or, you know, corner store, and CNN, what is with CNN in every freaking small corner store? Why can't you put on Fox or Newsmax? You know, and then that's where they get their rating. I swear to God.
Yeah, One American News or something.
Yeah. If every mom and pop place turned off CNN, man, they wouldn't have any ratings at all.
Well, Don Lemon is actually laughing at you, though, Rick. I don't know if you saw this the other night or not on Don Lemon's little show.
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay, well, they were talking about Mike Pompeo, and, well, I'll just play the clip. But as you can see here, Don Lemon is having a laugh at our expense as Trump supporters.
CNN. And obviously it's false. And look, he also knows deep in his heart that Donald Trump couldn't find Ukraine on a map if you had the letter U and a picture of an actual physical crane next to it. He knows that this is, you know, an administration defined by ignorance of the world. And so that's partly him playing to their base and playing to their audience, you know, the credulous boomer Rube demo that backs Donald Trump, that wants to think that Donald Trump's a smart one, and y'all elitists are dumb.
You elitists with your geography and your maps and your spelling, even though my
your math and your reading.
Yeah, you're reading. You know, your geography, knowing other countries, sipping your latte.
All those lines on the map.
Only them elitists know where Ukraine is. Sorry, I apologize. But
oh my God!
But you know what? But it was Rick's fault. I blame Rick. But in all honesty,
blame
Rick. NPR should
Why not? Sorry, hold on. Wait.
Can I tell you
Give me a second. Hold on. Sorry. No, it's good. Sorry, Rick. That was a good one. I needed that. Okay.
Right. Yeah, and I'm sick of those liberals, man. You know, talking down that we're this, that, or the other, man. You know, I mean, we're all good people, man. There ain't no Trumpsters out there, man, doing dirt. You know, like Elizabeth Warren and all the rest of them saying, if you see him at a gas station, if you see him at a restaurant, get in their face.
No, don't. You don't want to do that. Wait, time out.
Yeah, don't do that.
Not do that with me.
or me. You know, because man, it ain't gonna. You'll be wearing my food. And I'll be reaching in your wallet to buy myself another meal. But anyway.
Wow, could you imagine somebody doing that with me?
Not at all, Jess.
Oh, wow.
Or just to see if we had our Trump hats and we're sitting down at lunch, you know, oh man, you know, even the 4-8 guys, man, come up to us, man. It's a bad time for them.
Before we tell you people, before we get exactly what Pelosi's up to on your sheet, let me tell the people about the Battle of Turtle Gut. So last night, the president was in New Jersey giving a speech to 175,000 ticket requests there were for his rally.
Here's the state where George Washington led a die-hard band of American.
Yep. Okay. Jersey. So somewhere in the speech he talked about George Washington crossing the Delaware. Mm-hmm. Well, George Washington crossed the Delaware on what was called Durham boats. So I'm sure you all seen this photo before of Washington on the Delaware.
Durham boats.
Those are called Durham boats. Well, we have John Durham, who's also doing an inspection, an IG report right now, digging up some dirt, along with Barr, digging up some dirt on election interference, election integrity, FISA abuse.
The Russian bullshit.
Right. The whole thing wrapped up in a bubble. So the president's giving this speech, and he's in New Jersey. Well, he's at a certain part of New Jersey, which was called Wildwood, which is a water inlet. And just to let you know,
15 months after the start of the Revolutionary War and the blowing up of the vessel Nancy, spotted on January 28, 1776, approaching the inlet at Wildwood. The more you know.
Ironically enough, January 28th, 1776, a vessel named Nancy was sunk by the Patriots at that inlet at Wildwood in New Jersey in the Battle of Turkey Gut.
Cool.
So it's called the Battle of Turkey Gut, where Patriots sank a vessel named Nancy on January 28th, 1776, the same day the president was giving a speech about, in, and at. Because if they impeach our president and Mike Pence steps aside or whatever the case may be, what do you want to make sure that people know about?
The next person in line is Nancy Pelosi.
Say that again.
The next person in line would be Nancy Pelosi. And that's what it's all about. This whole impeachment is because that old hen wants to be the president of the United States.
I'll leave you with some of those words.
There must never be a narrowly voted impeachment or an impeachment supported by one of our major political parties and opposed by the other. Such an impeachment will produce the divisiveness and bitterness in our politics for years to come and will call into question the very legitimacy of our political institutions.
This is unfair to the American people. By these actions, you would undo the free election that expressed the will of the American people in 1996. In so doing, you will damage the faith the American people have in this institution and in the American democracy. You will set the dangerous precedent that the certainty of presidential terms, which has so benefited our wonderful America, will be replaced by the partisan use of impeachment. Future presidents will face election, then litigation, then impeachment.
This is a constitutional amendment that we are debating, not an impeachment resolution. The Republicans are crossing out the impeachment standard of high crimes and misdemeanors, and they are inserting the words any crime or misdemeanor. We are permitting a constitutional coup d'etat. I warn my colleagues that you will reap the bitter harvest of the unfair partisan seeds you sow today. The constitutional provision for impeachment is a way to protect our government and our citizens, not another weapon in the political arsenal.
I expect history will show that we've lowered the bar on impeachment so much. We have broken the seal on this extreme penalty so cavalierly that it will be used as a routine tool to fight political battles. My fear is that when a Republican wins the White House, Democrats will demand payback.
You were right. But I'm sorry to say you were also prophetic.
There were 18 witnesses that the House prosecutors had for this, but you have not seen all 18 transcripts. Is that right?
That's exactly right, Maria. The House managers kept putting up charts talking about the 17 witnesses, but there were 18. The 18th was the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community, Michael Atkinson. He was the second witness interviewed on October 4th. I was there. It's the one transcript out of 18 that hasn't been released. It's a 179-page transcript, and you can bet that if that transcript was helpful to Adam Schiff and the Democrats and harmful to President Trump, everyone would have seen it by now. But instead, it's just the opposite. It's the one transcript that talks about Adam Schiff and the whistleblower. Now, everyone knows by now that Adam Schiff was not truthful about his contacts with the whistleblower. What they don't know, and what's in that transcript, is that the whistleblower wasn't truthful about his contacts with Adam Schiff. This whole thing started, Maria, when a whistleblower filed a complaint with the Inspector General under penalty of perjury that wasn't true and correct, made representations in writing and then verbally that weren't true and correct. And when we found that out and tried to get into the details of that, Adam Schiff, who was in charge of this investigation, shut it down, and now he's trying to bury that transcript.
You know, oh my God.
Could you imagine the speeches she would be giving?
Could you imagine that? Could you imagine oh my God.
I told all the people that we're prayerful and it's a solemn moment and we're all together and
Yep. Oh my God.
Special Nancy.
Yeah, and I would go to sleep listening to her.
I wouldn't
listen to her at all, but I mean, that's how boring she is, and she talks like in circles, man.
When you watch those shows, they say, well, who had a motive? Well, if LeBron and Kobe are both producing movies and they both walked into a movie producer with their scripts, who do you think the producer's going to give it to? LeBron or Kobe?
Kobe.
But Kobe's not here now.
Yep.
Okay.
So who's going to carry the torch?
Okay. So it's all about motive. All right. So if Russia interfered with our elections because Hillary gave Russia computers in the Silicon Valley to interfere in our election,
which we covered in earlier shows,
and the DNC refused to give that server to the FBI, they sent it to CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike, as we're showing you here, received money from the DNC.
Yep. After July 11th.
Seth Rich was killed over that, because it was now found out he was the one giving Julian Assange information with WikiLeaks.
Just a couple days before.
Okay, so when you talk about who had a motive, Democratic Party, Donna Brazile, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who had a motive?
The Democrats.
Why is LeBron talking to Bill Clinton last January 23rd, a few days before this all went down? I mean, what did Bill have to say to LeBron? Hey, congratulations, you're about to pass Kobe third time on all-time list, but nobody's going to really buy your shit because Kobe's the man, so we might have to bump him off for you to be...
Move up.
Oh, Kobe, LeBron, Kobe's involved with this lifeboat organization, and now we have he gave a deposition against us, and...
It's all funny, you know?
So
wonder...
Follow the motive. They tell you to follow the money. We'll also follow the motive.
Lifeboat Foundation. Check that out, people.
Adam Schiff, it's possible that the FBI found photos in Buck's apartment.
Everyone, you guys for tuning in.
Oh my god, Otis made it.
Scooby-Doo, where are you?
Oh my god. Did you hear about Ed Buck? This one's a real head scratcher. A legit, no joke, what the fuck? Billionaire, Democrat, meth fiend with a taste for crack. Like to trap black dudes in his basement. Till we found out to our amazement. He killed one. No wait, two? The third escape? Scooby-Doo! If it wasn't for you catching all your alt-right memes, I could've kept on killing black men in my basement off of Kings. Kings Road is like a famous street in West Hollywood, which is where the murdering and injecting and kidnapping occurred. Alright, have a good day.
Joe Buck's apartment?
Yep, Joe Buck. Yep.
From that raid that we talked about back in September, October, where they arrested, or they got Buck. You don't hear nothing about his trial.
Not a peep.
Because of all these distractions. Rick, if you're on a road trip, and to us, we're on a road trip to patriotism, to taking back our country. So we're on a road trip, right?
Right.
If we stop to look at the big ball of yarn, and if we stop to look at the big Ferris wheel, and we get caught up with all the distractions on the road trip, it takes us longer to get to the result, to the end.
Yes, it does.
Ignore the distractions. Focus on the point at hand of taking back the country. That's all we're trying to do, is to put it back in the hand of patriots.
Yep, just like I'm just wondering, just to bring up somebody else that went to jail, Sheldon Silvers. Did he ever go to jail?
Oh, Shelley Silver?
Yeah.
I only seen him on the cover of New York Post behind bars, but that was an image, a cartoon. That wasn't actual.
Yeah.
I don't really
he
know.
embezzled $14 million.
But is the Republican Party reformed, like I spoke to you about off camera?
Oh,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break, show you a few interesting things, and we'll be right back.
Of a special counsel. And lo and behold, a special counsel was appointed. And it just so happens that FBI agent, lawyer, who committed the fraud on the FISA court became a lawyer for the Mueller investigation. Only to be removed because of political animus and bias found by the Inspector General. Then we have a special counsel investigation. Lisa Page, Agent Strzok, I'm not going to go into the details. You know them. They're not in controversy, they're uncontroverted. The facts are clear. But does it bother your sense of justice even a little bit? Even a little bit. That Bob Mueller allowed the evidence on the phones of those agents to be wiped clean while there was an investigation going on by the Inspector General. Now, if you did it, Manager Schiff, if you did it, Manager Jeffries, if I did that, destroyed evidence, If anyone in this chamber did this, we'd be in serious trouble. Their serious trouble is they get fired. Putting yourselves in the shoes of this president or any president that would be under this situation, you're number 4 at the Department of Justice. His wife is working for the firm that's doing the opposition research on him and is communicating with the foreign former spy, Christopher Steele, to put together the dossier, and it's being handled by Christopher Steele through Nellie Orr to her husband, then the 4th-ranking member at the Department of Justice, Bruce Orr, and all of this is going on. And he doesn't want to tell, and he's testified to this, he doesn't want to tell everybody what he's doing because he's afraid he might have to stop. Might have to stop. How did this happen? This is the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And then we ask, why is the president concerned about advice he's being given? Put yourself in his shoes. Put yourself in his shoes. But remember the whole idea that this was a dire national security threat, a danger to our nation? We had to get this over here right away. It had to be done before Christmas. It was so important. It was so significant. The country was in such jeopardy. The jeopardy was so serious that it had to be done immediately. Let's hold on to the articles of impeachment for a month to see if the House could force the Senate to adopt rules that they wanted, which is not the way the Constitution is set up. But it was such a dire emergency. It was so critical for our nation's national interest that we could hold them for 33 days. Danger, danger, danger.